Met. I'm the president for the Rotary Club of Harrisburg, and I invite you to join us for a traditional luncheon meeting, service on a Monday, or Rotary alternate meeting. Everyone's invited, and that means you. Check out our website or Facebook page for more information.
What if I told you that right outside of these walls right now, a mother walks down 2nd Street, worried she can't feed her children dinner tonight? What if I told you a child in your neighborhood is lying in bed with nightmares from past years of abuse and nobody knows? What if I told you a woman at your local grocery store covers bruises on her face with makeup and a scarf? What if I told you a child huddles in the corner of a room crying for a mother who never returns? The truth is, we all struggle. Think about the last 2 years. Think about the world in which we live in. We all face adversity and trauma. Sometimes we are resilient, and sometimes it's crushing. But it's in times of extreme adversity that we rely on our collective community to rally around us. That's what Rotary does. Renowned historian Yuval Noah Harari tells us that what distinguishes human beings is not the opposable thumb. Weren't we all taught that? Or our use of tools, but rather our capacity to collectively rally around a unified belief system. Think about that for a minute. Oftentimes for the greater good. Service to others. That's what I want to speak to you today. What is authentic service? I've grappled with this my whole career over 32 years is, am I the right kind of servant? And I think a day never stops that I ask myself, is my service authentic? What do we mean by that? We'll get to that in a second, but let me start with what service is not. Despite popular belief, it's not charity. It's not a hand down, but a hand up between equals. It is not an us doing for them or an out group and an in group, but rather it is the feeling of sitting on the floor with a child who is crying, whose mother didn't show up for her birthday, and extending a heart, human to human, no power differential, just connection. It is authentic connection to our community and our belief system. In his book, Business Secrets of the Trappist Monks, if you haven't read this, please go out and get it. August Turek shares the quintessential example of servant leadership demonstrated by the Christian monks of the Mepkin Abbey. These monks make eggs, bread, cakes, and even beer, not for a profit, but because of their Christian faith. Strangely enough, they are remarkably productive and have inadvertently generated significant wealth that they don't know what to do with it. They're left speechless because it is their service. Wealth was not the goal. The monks in Schermont, Belgium, they generated over $50 million a year on beer alone. Can you imagine? Wow. And they stand around saying, we don't know what to do with this because this is really our service. And what the monks teach us is that it's really in our own self-interest to forget our self-interest and to reach out and extend a hand to someone who needs us as human beings, human connection. Let's think a little bit about selflessness. Do you serve to meet your own needs? Can you honestly suspend your ego, your judgment, and your desire to benefit others? If the answer is yes for each of you, then you're ready to practice empathy. Now, for me, empathy is the most powerful thing that human beings can do. It requires us to put our ego on the shelf, suspend all of our preconceived notions and our judgments and look at somebody and be vulnerable enough to understand their experience, not from ours, but from their place. It's not interpretation. It's not identification, and it certainly is not sympathy. For me, I think sympathy has a shelf life of about 5 minutes. What I mean by that, I'm sorry. Have you ever been belabored by the I'm sorry of somebody and you just want to say, shut up, I got it. I got your sympathy. Because sympathy has a little bit of a power differential, doesn't it? It's somebody sympathizing down with you. Whereas empathy is saying, I can look at you in a human experience and understand you. That is my single biggest goal as a servant, is to practice empathy. Empathy is a skill to be developed. It's not easy. It's hard because we all bring our preconceived notions to the table. It's checking our biases. It's being vulnerable. It's no power differential. It's hard to practice empathy and it can erode easily. I think we see this in the world we live. It's very easy to fall back on our judgments. Another good book, I'm sorry, I'm a big nerd, is The Science of Evil by Simon Baron-Cohen. It talks about empathy erosion. It's very easy for us to lose our sense of empathy. He starts the book talking about concentration camps as to why a guard could objectify a human being and lose all empathy, and what transpires in us as humans to turn people into objects rather than human connection. Fabulous book. Another essence related to empathy is mission. Do you have a mission? We have all of this. Do we live it? Do we breathe it? Is it in you? That mission to change. I'm very proud of Voce's mission. Our mission is with passion, empathy, and integrity. We provide multidisciplinary human service expertise to cultivate positive, lasting change in people's lives. We are looking for people to thrive and belong on their terms. So what is service? Here are some of my thoughts. First and foremost, do the right thing. Hard one to live up to. Our values at my organization are on my wall. And every single day in my office, I go through those values and check every decision I'm making. It's challenging to do that, right? Because our biases will come into play, or maybe I had a bad morning, but do the right thing and do no harm. Be builders of passion. Passion is such a driver for all of us. Roll up your sleeves and make something happen. I will tell you, it's one of the places I'm most proud of Rotary. You guys are not lip service. You got on a bicycle, you make pancakes, and then you celebrate the pride of your action and the change it will make. Make something happen. Service is not working on people. It's working with and for. Are the people that we serve part of our community, or are they somewhere else? Help others see hope and potential. Boy, does our world need a little bit of hope right now. It's really hard. My 16-year-old daughter, I'm looking at the world she's being raised in, and I'm like, how do I foster hope when all the noise is about the apocalypse that we live in, you know? Steps outside your comfort zone. Be humble and vulnerable. We typically don't like to be vulnerable, right? It's scary, but vulnerability leads to some of the most profound human connections. Buddha says that if you light a lamp for someone else, it brightens your path. How profound. Similarly, the Dalai Lama, who's one of my favorites, by the way, if we could all live like this. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. See, that's the vehicle that we are, that through our passion. The prayer of St. Francis of Assisi reminds us that it is in giving that we receive. So the challenge before all of us is to continue our personal journeys to impact our sense of service, expand it, grow it, recruit new members, have greater impact, because there are so many people that require it and need us. If you'll indulge me, I'd like to finish up with a story. I brought a couple of my prized possessions today. Yes, this arguably professionally is the most powerful gift I have, is this little shirt. When I met Harry, this is Harry's shirt, he was 8 years old. Harry came into the group home that I worked with. His mother was murdered when he was 6. He had been through unspeakable physical and sexual abuse in his early years by a hand of a father. And Harry entered the group home like so many kids do, with plastic bags, not luggage, but all their life belongings stuffed in a plastic bag, trash bag. Great metaphor, right? Terrible metaphor. Well, on day one, they were on the staff, well-intended staff, are unpacking all of Harry's belongings. And they came across this shirt and another shirt. And they looked at Harry and they said, "Oh, this doesn't fit you anymore. We're going to get rid of it." Harry went ballistic, kicking, screaming, fighting, cussing. This is where empathy comes in. The staff responded and said, "What's going on? This shirt obviously doesn't fit this kid anymore." Well, after talking to Harry, these 2 shirts were the last things Harry ever received from his now deceased mother. How important is this shirt? Right? Now, to me, it's not that important, but to Harry, it meant the world. And the staff, they were able to listen and understand Harry's perspective. So they took the shirts and they actually put them on stuffed animals, which I thought was clever. And they were on Harry's bed. Fast forward about 6 months, Harry now found, I'm pleased to say, a loving foster family. Okay, heroes. And Harry was leaving, and I got a knock at my door. "Who is it?" "It's me, Mr. Rick. Can I come in?" Harry, just give me a second. No, I have something really important to tell you." Harry comes in and gives me this shirt and says, "I want you to have this." And I said, "Harry, it means the world to you." He says, "No, I'm keeping the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle one. This one's definitely not as cool as that." He said, "I insist to give you this shirt." And I said, "Why, Harry?" "Because I never want you to forget to listen to kids and understand them. And you guys listen to understand. You keep this. This has been in my office for 20 years since then." Okay. Again, human connection. This wasn't about me, Dr. Rick, or expert or whatever. This was human to human. And similarly, sure I have time, 2 more shirts. I met Michael when he was 16. Michael was raised by a schizophrenic mom who loved him dearly. He was brutally abused by a father who was a drug dealer, who didn't want anything to do with the family. And all Michael had on this planet was his mom. She was loving as Michael was. This kid stood about this tall at 16, and he was one of the most tender-hearted people I ever met. He cared, and he cared for his mom, who struggled to just meet the basic functions of life. Michael was ambivalent because he didn't want to let his mom go, but he wanted a family to grow up in, and he knew his mom couldn't do it. Okay, so back and forth we went. "What do you want to do, Michael? What do you want your future to be?" Struggled. Well, we helped Michael understand that you don't have to pick. Your mom is your mom. What if you had mom number 2? And I remember this light bulb going off in Michael's head. "I can have that? Everybody only has one mom." I said, "Not everybody has one mom. I can still have my mom and another mom." I said, "Michael, think about it." So we worked through this a while. So we start the process of trying to find a family for this tender-hearted boy. And his mom was really open to it again, but almost incoherent, because she was persecuted by visual and auditory hallucinations almost all the time, but loved Michael. So we find a foster family, and Michael meets him. He's ambivalent. We start talking, and then finally he says, "I want to go for it." And he comes to my office with these 2 things. they're kind of cruddy. I got to tell you though, but I'll tell you how we did this. Mom number one, mom number two. And his brilliant stroke of genius was, I'm going to give these shirts to this mom and this mom because I'm going to get to have two moms. And I looked at it and said, God, this is a piece of shit. You know, Mike, let me help you. Let's go get shirts made. Okay. And that's why I have the two originals here. We went and had shirts printed, and he gave mom one and mom two. And I will tell you, I have a picture that I can't share for confidentiality reasons, that unfortunately his schizophrenic mom died a few years later. And the picture is at the funeral home. His mother is laid out wearing mom number one t-shirt in her casket next to Michael and his foster mom, who is wearing mom number two. I look at this picture all the time and say, this world didn't have to be conventional for this kid. He just needed the love that all of us wanted and found a way. So these are my prized possessions. I know my standards are low, but never a day surpasses where I not think, remind yourself, I may be dealing with budgets or personnel and being a pencil pusher, but at the end of the day, it's all about the empathy and the human connection that we make. So I end with, thank you all for all you do at the Rotary. I am glad to be among service people. It's all I've ever done. I told Dave earlier, I knew in week one, 32 years ago, that I would do this the rest of my life. I know nothing else. I can't fix a sink. My tractor goes up, whatever. And my wife says, yeah, we know where your head is. But I always appreciate when collective groups look at problems and issues and populations that need us and roll up their sleeves. And I dare to say our world needs more of that right now. So thank you for your service. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today.